Well, here, this is part 3 in a series where we're trying to build some information taking survey data and Google Earth imagery, and now in part 3 we want to have a look at an environmental consultant has given us some information about zones within the site, and we want to incorporate those into this particular final plan. So let's continue on. It's worth pointing out at this stage that we're getting quite complex. We've got an image layer. If we check over here, L-image layer. If we look at all the layers now, I'm trying to separate things out. I've got a temporary layer, site boundaries, concept data, and concept. So we're going to put all this concept information on either one or two particular layers. So it's worth pointing out that when you get into a complex situation like this, just move different entities, images or so on, onto their own layer, and then you can manipulate things nicely. Well, to demonstrate, we know the Google Earth image is on. It's a layer called L-image. Let's just get rid of it. So to close it, turn it off, we just do that. Now we've got this consultant diagram, sketch diagram here, overlaying the consultant's image that they worked from, and if I click on it, it's on a layer called L-concept. What we want to do is to make sure we get the information from that concept diagram onto its own layer, and I've drawn a polyline through here and I've popped it on a layer called concept data, and I've done the same for a polyline here and so on. We now want to go on, I think, and put some hatching to indicate a wetland area. We want to put some dimensioning on and some further hatching in here. So I'm going to go on and add to the layer L concept data those features. Well, I've filled all those bits in other than the technical notes and distances, but the core information I think is there. If we select this image, it's on a layer L concept, so in theory we should be able to turn off the concept layer, and the only thing that's not showing now is the Google Earth image. And I hope you can see we're starting to get some shape into the design. If we go to layout, and it's looking, a lot of it is looking a little faint, so we're going to have to beef up some of the colours here. I think it's because we used white, but I'm not so sure of that. We can continue on and put in some of these other features. Well, I've now added some dimensioning. Notice that although the dimension distance is 50.97 feet, I've done an override and overridden it just with a note 50, and I've done the same here. 25 is an override, and that helps keep the dimensions neat, and where I've made an adjustment, I've made it on the correct side and average, not averaging down. The other thing to note is that notice all the lettering and dimensioning that's gone in here is on a layer called concept data. So we should now be able to select that layer L concept. So we should be able to go to layer L concept and turn it off. And I hope you can see now that we're starting to get a feel for how we want the layout to be. And it's now full size. Here's I think a proposed shed or construction, but notice how it bites into a buffer averaging area. I'll just get rid of that for the moment. Here's the buffer averaging, like so, and whoops, I've inadvertently removed it, and the one I wanted to remove was this little dimension here. And when you use dimensions in that way, leaders are very useful. You can just move them around to put them into positions. So everything's full size, separated by layers. I think the arrowheads to be a little bigger, and let's go into dimensions and dimension style. We're using a style called architectural, and if I look at the geometry here, I'm going to pump the arrowhead size up considerably, and at the moment the leader, the leader has a strange arrowhead, so I'm going to go back into dimensions and dimension styles and just look at, I want a closed and filled arrowhead. So we've got an architectural style of lettering where distances and dimensions are, but leaders just have an arrowhead on them. Now if we go into layout, the next thing to deal with is to deal with our use of colour. At this stage, everything that we want to put in here, I'm just hesitating because that's yellow on a white background. We could deal with it very simply by changing the background colour in layout space, but I'm not sure I really want to do that at this stage of the little movie. I would hope that we can't actually see we need, I think, to change this one back now away from colour white to by layer. Well, you can actually set it to colour 7, and that will fix that up. So if we go back into layout now, there's our scale bar and our north indicator. Yellow doesn't show up at all well, does it? So let's just pick it, and it should be a line weight of 0.35, and there's its colour yellow. So let's just change that one, which is there, and we'll put that back to by layer, and let's now come into the layout space. Can you see now that one shows up very nicely? And I'm going to pick other colour yellow and yellow. Everything else that's yellow I'm going to select and change the colour back to by layer, and we'll look into the layout space here. Things are going much better now. We can deal with the hatching for the sake of argument. It's not showing on that background. Let me just illustrate again. Change that away from yellow to by layer. We can fine tune later on by just changing the colour of particular layers. And back into layout. I hope you would agree we're starting to get some shape. We don't have this line here, which is set to colour 255, which is white. Put that back by layer. So there's our boundary. We could change its line type to a dash dot pattern, but I think we're doing reasonably well. And it's just a matter now of prettying things up. Everything's full size in the model and easily manoeuvred around, and we can use this and print this particular plan when we fix it up. We happen to have a green floating viewport. I'll move that out here and to the edge, change that away from green to also by layer. I'm just simplifying things. Double click in there and bring that down to give us the maximum display on that sheet. I'll zoom extents, and we can even try file and save as a PDF at this stage just to see what it's going to look like. But there's a little more drafting to do and a little more cleaning things up, but we've certainly got something useful to work with. Well, here is the final result. We've put a title box down below. Just fill out the information in the title box and you are done. in order to do a print, remember that this one is printed to a fixed scale. I'll just try and grab it shows as view scale 0.63, but we went to modify and set a fixed scale, and we selected the viewport and we went imperial, and then we typed 1/128 in the command area, 1/128, and hit enter. And we then discovered that that was not the correct scale. We need to change that to 1/, we'll right click, set fixed scale, select the viewport again, imperial. So we were going up, we now need 1/192, and hit enter, and there we have it. And we can select the title block and change this to 1/192 and hit enter and unselect all. So now the scale appears down here in the title block area. So we're ready to print, and the way to print, make a PDF file of this, is just go File and Save as PDF. Pick a window. I'll pick high resolution, but a final you'd pick maximum. We'll OK that. The prompt down here says first corner, so we'll click just near the edge of the sheet, as near the edge of the sheet as you can, and we'll put it on the desktop, and we'll call it Save as PDF, and overwrite the existing one, and we should get a PDF version of our design, and I'm relatively happy with that. The resolution will improve when you go to a higher value. So that's it, converting from a deposit plan all the way through to a concept plan for development of an urban forest, in fact, with a small amount of development happening down in the bottom corner.